movements, right, folks?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Let me see. Functions of the hypothalamus, they regulate appetite and temperature. Physiological changes of immobility. You can develop venous stasis, which can cause a blood clot, a DVT. Your muscles and bones will demineralize, in particular your bones. They demineralize, so the patient's at risk for fractures, pathological fractures, meaning without trauma. Patient may develop atelectasis. The patient may develop pneumonia because they're not moving around a lot, and if they're bedridden, they may also develop ulcers and the bony prominences. Right, folks? As they get up afterwards, they can develop orthostatic hypotension as well. Let me see. Degrees of sprain.
Was that loud? Trying to contact my dad. How we going? You swear.
Oh, okay. It doesn't matter if it's first, second, or whatever degree, guys. How do you treat a strain? You rice.
Rice.
Rice. As long as you guys know those concepts, you should be good.
We're
We're almost done, folks. Degrees of sprain. Ophthalmic ointment. So we didn't really talk about this, but I'll just tell you now. When you're giving your eye drops, the drop should be given in the conjunctival sac because you're exposing your fingers to the conjunctiva, the mucous membrane. You want to make sure that you wear gloves. If you're gonna give an ointment, you give it from the inner canthus to the outer canthus, right, folks?
Yes.
When you do the eye drops, after you do the eye drops into the sac, you have to plug the lacrimal ducts to make sure that it doesn't become absorbed systemically. That's what the book says.
What?
Yeah, I know.
Boo boo.
Ophthalmic occipital lobe main function is for vision. You guys ever were kids? I used to make ramps. My mom bought me a GT bike. You guys remember GT bikes?
No.
No, you guys don't.
Yes, I
Shaq,
do.
you remember the GT
Yes.
bikes? They were the best. You too? Thank you. With the pegs, yeah. So I was jumping a ramp and I had my feet on the pegs. Bad idea. As soon as I took off, I went back and I hit the back of my head on the floor hard. I had no helmet. That's why my head's flat. And so for like 3 seconds, all I saw was pitch black and I thought I went blind. That's because the impact into the occipital lobe probably temporarily shut down the vision receptors. You guys follow? So the occipital lobe deals with vision.
Did you cry?
Functioning parts of the cell. Make sure you guys know those. We discussed them. The soma, which is the body, the nucleus, the dendrites receive electrical signals. The axons transmit impulses away from the cell body. The myelin sheath protect the electrical impulse. The nodes of Ranvier are responsible for the saltatory conduction. The axon terminal have the vesicles that release the neurotransmitter, and the space between the axon terminal and the next tissue that's going to be receiving the neurotransmitter is called the synaptic cleft or the synapse. Right, folks?
Yes.
Make sure you guys know those. Make sure you guys know that the myelin sheath is created by the Schwann cells, which are glial cells. Make sure that white matter has myelin sheath on it, because fat is white, that's how I remember it. And then the gray matter does not have myelin sheath on the neurons. Effects of opioids on the CNS, it suppresses it. The CNS versus PNS. The central nervous system is the brain and spinal cord. The peripheral nervous system is the cables or the nerves that extend from throughout the body, right, folks?
Mm-hmm.
Then the peripheral nervous system breaks down into two subcategories, autonomic and somatic. And then the autonomic breaks down into sympathetic and parasympathetic, right, guys?
Yes.
You have a lot of things to do, folks. Sensory versus motor neurons. Sensory are called afferent. They send signals to the brain. Motor neurons are known as efferent. They transmit impulses away from the brain. Neuroglia are the helper cells, the glial cells, and the Schwann cells, oligodendrocytes, and all those are part of them. Do you remember what page you were on, Mr. Ibarra? You remember what page you were on? You remember the glial cells? Sorry, man.
Yeah.
Let me know what page you're on if you find it.
175 for
What is it?
AMP. 175.
175, there's a box with the list of I think there's 5 of them. 175?
Yeah.
Thank you.
In what book?
In the
AMP.
AMP.
Besides oligodendrocyte.
Depolarization it's very similar to the heart conduction, folks. There's still the nodes, it's still electrical fibers. So depolarization is firing off. Repolarization is resting or recharging of an electrical impulse. Patellar tendon reflex is what I was doing to, I think, Mr. This guy right
The
here.
one with the knee?
The one with the knee jerk
Acosta.
reflex. Yeah, Mr. Acosta.
Mm.
Cranial nerves, vagus, it activates the parasympathetic. It starts right here at the brain. It goes through the neck, the trachea, the entire, around the heart, around the lungs, and all through your visceral or GI tract down to your rectum. So anytime you have intrathoracic or intra-abdominal pressure, you're stimulating it. So that's why patients that have heart issues, you give them stool softeners so they won't activate the parasympathetic nervous system. Plexus is a bundle of nerves. Make sure you guys just know cervical plexus is up here in the cervical, and then we have the lumbosacral plexus as well. Baroreceptors, that letter B and P, they are receptors that detect blood pressure, and that's their function. Mechanoreceptors detect movement. Nociceptors detect pain. Parts of the eye, the sclera, remember Stella white? Sclera is the white part. The choroid nourishes the eyeball, and the retina is the nerve part, the innermost aspect of the eyeball. Parts of our ear, we have the outer ear that encompasses the pinna, the earlobe, but it stops at the eardrum or the tympanic membrane. The middle ear goes from the tympanic membrane down to the oval window. It includes the ossicles, which are the malleus, incus, and stapes, also the little eustachian tube that connects the middle ear to the pharynx, right, folks?
Yes.
The inner ear includes the oval window and beyond, which includes the semicircular canals, which are responsible for balance. The vestibule, which is responsible for sound, as is the cochlea. The cochlea and the vestibule, they have a nerve called the vestibular cochlear nerve. They deal with proprioception or balance, right, folks?
Yes. Unless you know if you're laying down, if it's that way, that's
I don't know what you said. Myopia, I want you guys to write down as being nearsighted. It's when you have a visual issue, but you can only see things close up. I have myopia. I can only see things close up. I can't see any of your guys' faces. It's a good thing. I see it now. It's a good thing? Yeah, for some of you guys.
I didn't see
Referred pain is when you have an actual trauma in one area, but the manifestation of the pain is somewhere else. Like an MI, the damage in the heart, the pain is radiating to the shoulder. Vasomotor function is found at the brainstem. It deals with constricting and dilating your blood vessels. If you damage that, that's why you have issues with pulse pressure when you have ICP. The vasomotor function constricts and dilates your blood vessels, folks. You guys have a good one. Thank you guys. Make sure you guys